Following the failure of talks for a coalition government between the interim ruling party and the main opposition party, the leader of the Justice and Development Party, AK Party, will meet with the leader of the Nationalist Movement Party, MHP, on Monday to try and forge a coalition, though the odds of success look slim. The coalition talks between the two parties will take place in Parliament at 2 p.m. The chances of the talks succeeding are rather low given that the MHP demands that its previously announced principles be recognized if it is to be a partner in a coalition government. The MHP would put on the table its preconditions when representatives of the AK Party arrive for coalition talks, MHP Secretary-General İsmet Büyükataman told today's Zaman. Top MHP officials including Büyükataman stressed on Friday the MHP would not agree to join forces in a coalition with the AK Party unless party leader Ahmet Davutoğlu gets rid of the president's tutelage over the party. Davutoğlu dismissed the claim regarding the president's tutelage over his party on Thursday. Following the general election in June, President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan has been widely accused by the opposition of working against the formation of a coalition between the AK Party and the main opposition Republican People's Party, CHP. The MHP also made clear that it will not be part of a coalition government designed to be in place until an early election in the fall or offer support to an AK Party minority government until an early election. Mr. Davutoğlu should come talk to the MHP leader by being aware of these conditions, Büyükataman said, suggesting that the chances of a coalition occurring between the AK Party and the MHP are quite low. The MHP Secretary-General does not expect Davutoğlu to come up with a sincere proposal for a coalition. Because it emerged very clearly on Thursday that the AK Party do not have any intention of forging a coalition government, Büyükataman said in clear reference to the failure of the talks between the AK Party and the CHP. MHP leader Devlet Bahçeli will convene the party's Central Executive Council, MYK, to discuss the issue on Saturday. The coalition talks between AK Party and the CHP failed, as widely expected, following a final meeting on Thursday. Shortly after the announcement of the failure of the talks, the AK Party sought an appointment with Bahçeli that same day. Accusing President Erdoğan of undermining the coalition talks between the AK Party and the CHP, Büyükataman said, "If Davutoğlu comes with a proposal for a coalition, then we will put our preconditions on the table. If he does not have such a proposal, then there will be no issues left worth discussing." The MHP Secretary-General does not think a coalition between the two parties would be possible. Büyükataman said it would be difficult for the AK Party to come up with a real coalition proposal because there are articles in the MHP's preconditions that the AK Party cannot accept. Davutoğlu, who is also acting Prime Minister, expressed his willingness to have talks with Bahçeli during the press conference when announcing the failure of the talks with the CHP on Thursday. The MHP has essentially voiced 5 preconditions to be part of a coalition government, making the possibility of a coalition between the two parties rather unlikely. A second sine qua non for the MHP is the relaunch of the corruption investigation of suspects implicated in probes that went public on December 17 and 25, 2013. Some then leading AK Party figures, including current President Erdoğan, are allegedly involved in sweeping corruption. The AK Party previously dismissed taking up the issue as a topic in the coalition talks, saying the issue could only be brought up in Parliament. The restriction of Erdoğan's use of power to within constitutional limits, a third precondition, is sure to be another thorny issue in potential coalition talks between the AK Party and the MHP. Davutoğlu has previously said on a number of occasions following the general election in June that his party would not allow Erdoğan's position be questioned. Erdoğan has been widely criticized by the opposition of exceeding the limits of his powers, favoring the AK Party despite the fact that a president is required by the constitution to be impartial, as well as interfering in the affairs of the government. Yet another MHP precondition is the return of Erdoğan to the traditional presidential palace in the Kankia neighborhood of Ankara rather than using the newly built presidential palace. Such a move might symbolize Erdoğan's acceptance of remaining within the limits of the constitution when exercising his authority. Erdoğan, who previously headed AK party governments for over a decade before being elected president last August, is still a powerful figure in the party. The MHP also demands, as the fifth precondition, that the first 4 articles of the constitution, which underline the indivisible nature of the country and say that Turkish is the official language of the state, remain unchanged. Should Davutoğlu's meeting with Bosley bear no fruit as expected, an early election is to be held within 3 months, most likely in November. Erdoğan told reporters during a visit to Rize on Monday that hopes for a coalition cannot be said to have totally faded, noting that Davutoğlu will also meet with the MHP leader. Erdoğan, who dismissed the claim that he is against the formation of a coalition, said he does not see Bosley as worth talking to because of the MHP leader's previous insulting remarks about him and his family. Bosley said Erdoğan's son, Bilal, would also be required to be called to account before the law for charges of corruption and expressed disbelief that Erdoğan would allow the AK party to forge a coalition with the MHP under such circumstances. In a written statement on Wednesday, Bosley accused Erdoğan of having interfered with the progress of the talks, saying Erdoğan intends to kill the spirit of democracy by appearing as a third interlocutor in coalition talks between the CHP and the AK party. Erdoğan should certainly change his ways and pull himself together. It is the duty of AK party leader Mr. Davutoğlu to form a government, Bosley said. The official Twitter account of the People's Democratic Party, HDP, which entered parliament after an election campaign opposing President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan's ambitions for a switch to a presidential system, posted a tweet on Thursday in which it once again vowed to block Erdoğan's plans in a possible snap election. The HDP upset Turkey's political scene when it pulled off an unlikely feat and seized 13% of the total vote in the parliamentary election on June 7, surpassing the 10% electoral threshold required for political parties to enter parliament. This result was even more significant due to the fact that it deprived the AK party of an outright majority, preventing it from forming a single-party government and introducing a presidential system.